we can address that. This is a space for just processing stuff in a healthy way, okay? In a healthy, respectful way. Teresa's saying, I burnt out and failed before, so I don't know if I can handle the stress of the basic work world. Okay, look, I think that's absolutely valid. Look, as somebody who broke down, similar to your story. Okay, look, as somebody who broke down how to control thoughts. Okay, thank you, Big Country. Thank you both for participating. How to control thoughts. Okay, how to control thoughts. And I'm hearing from Teresa the stress of having to have, right? And here's the thing that they don't teach us, right? When it comes to like mental health. Y'all know this is all about I connect everything to mental health. For those of you who are new here, my name is Jay. I am not a therapist. I am just, what are thoughts? We can go there too. We can start from the beginning. I am a former attorney, had a breakdown, massive crisis, fell apart in a very brief summary, stopped functioning and had to figure out my way out of it alone. And so I've often shared my story here. And so the way that something that would help me as a neurodivergent person, I'm very good at pattern recognition when it comes to my own introspective process. The way that I made it out of not wanting to exist anymore, the way that I made it out of feeling like an extreme failure, after I had to like, my mind collapsed. That was the only way I stopped working. My psychologist and partner at the time had to convince me to take a break from work, because my world was my career and work, because that was the only way that I knew how to cope. I did not know how to cope in any other way. And especially because I enjoyed what I was doing, I represented refugees. And so I can look at the simplest of things and see 100 possibilities. Yeah. I can relate to that. And so I, at the time, was working with refugees, and it was very hard for me to leave. It's kind of like how, at this moment, a lot of us are seeing what's going on the other side of the world with Palestine, Congo, Sudan, things going on in Latin America, all over the world, right? And you want to help, and you can't look away, right? But you have to be able to do it. You have to be able to do it and still take care of yourself so you can be there in the long run. I did not know how to do that. My world was being involved, but not knowing how to take care of myself. So I fell apart, and I had to learn to deconstruct and come out of that deep sense of failure, right? And so I'm going to write down the stuff y'all brought up so that hopefully I can address it. I can address what I figured out. And if you have questions, as always, feel free to participate. I see you're all already doing it here in the comments. That's phenomenal. I love when you all talk to each other, okay, and support each other. So I'm hearing thoughts, right? Managing thoughts. And I'm hearing stress around, right, finding a job. Finding a job. So let's talk about it. I'm going to try to address this. I'm going to try to address this in the time we have. As always, so shall we? More like utter fear. Are you talking to me or are you talking to someone in the comments? Fear around what? Look, and that's totally valid. Because if you think about it, okay, we're going to try starting from the beginning with thoughts, and we're still going to, right, because connecting all of it together, okay? Because if you think about it, this, Teresa, if we play the mind game, which hopefully I'll get there, think about what the false need is. And so the point is, mental health is about learning to interact with your environment in a healthy way. You're learning to interact with yourself and your environment in a healthy way, and that means managing difficult thoughts and difficult feelings, right? Not just avoiding difficult thoughts and difficult feelings, but knowing to manage them, because we can't run away from difficult thoughts and difficult feelings, right? And so there's two avenues. When there's an obstacle that pops up, whether it be a thought or whether it be stress over finding a job, when there's an obstacle that pops up, there's two ways of approaching this, right? There's, okay, obstacle, let me avoid. I'm feeling stuff, I'm thinking stuff, it's very uncomfortable, let me distract. Obstacle is still there, right? You're still going to face it. Maybe you'll procrastinate, right? Maybe you're stressed the entire time. Maybe it's still kind of messing with you in the background, right? And you're avoiding the thoughts and the feelings, and you face the obstacle afraid the entire time, stressed the entire time, anxious the entire time, or procrastinating until you face it. Either way, you finally come to that obstacle, and it's not a productive addressing the obstacle, right? And then there's the second option. Most of us go with the first option, realistically, because that's the way that we were taught. The second option to addressing that obstacle is managing the difficult thoughts and feelings, understanding what they are, where they're coming from, why they are happening. And this is a process. Today it's like a summary of what we're talking about today. But it's a process. The second way of doing it is understanding what's happening so that we can approach that obstacle, right? Understanding where these are coming from, why they are, so we can be informed by them instead of running away from it. So we can be informed by it. And so we can address the obstacle and move on with our life, right? Not so that we dread the obstacle, not so that we distract from the obstacle until we absolutely can't do it, right? Because then we're going to do that with every single obstacle. That is a very inefficient way. If we think about it in terms of energy, we don't want that first option. And that's what most of us were taught to do. So let's deconstruct a little bit today. I missed a lot of comments. If you gave me a heart attack. Oh goodness, David, I'm sorry. It's these things are heavy, right? Especially when we're not taught how to do it in a healthy way. Imagine what we could do if we left fear out of the equation. Yes. Well, think about it. Yes, we don't entirely want fear out of the equation because, again, these feelings are good. These feelings are things that our body needs to be able to register in, dangerous moments. We just don't want them around all the time, right? And so that's what we need to, that's where the managing part comes in, so that we feel the fear when it's relevant, right? But not constantly, right? Not anxiety all the time, right? But what if it is okay? It's the most logical, but it is a gamble. I'm not sure what that question is. Well, if it's a gamble in terms of addressing. Well, look. All right, y'all. Let's get started. Let me get into it, and hopefully I'll bring a little bit more clarification. So let's start from the beginning in terms of thoughts, in terms of what thoughts are, or how I perceive thoughts in terms of helping me get through stuff, and addressing, hopefully, Teresa, this, okay? So let's talk about the usual, okay? The usual questions. The way that I started my journey out of breakdown by myself when I had no support system and I did not want to exist was in the midst of a very long battle with depression and failure. I started asking myself questions. And I was very focused on what I didn't have, what I couldn't do, how I was useless, worthless, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay? I started asking myself, well, wait a minute. I don't want to carry this failure with me the entire time, right? I don't want to right? Kind of relate this to where you might be. And so I started asking myself, well, wait. There has to be a way out of this. I don't want to live the rest of my life with this, carrying this sense of failure because I'm not doing my job anymore. I'm not, right? And so I started asking myself, well, wait, there are things I do right. There are things I do right. There are things I do every single day. What if my ability to do those things, the patterns behind what allows me to do that, will allow me to work through this other heaviness that I'm going through, okay? And so I started asking myself questions behind, how do I fulfill every single day? Every single day, we all eat, right? We have physical needs. Food, water, sleep, right? You have other physical needs, but we're just going to focus on that. There's a very simple pattern that allows you to fulfill these every single day. Every single day, you fulfill, okay? There's a need, there's a feeling, there's a thought, and there's an action, right? If you need water, let me check out another marker. If you need water, your body sends you thirst, a feeling that you register through thought, hey, I'm thirsty, right? And that you fulfill by hydrating. You hydrate, sorry, it's not that pretty. You hydrate, right? Every single day. You hydrate, that feeling goes away. This pattern, you fulfill with every single one of these. This is a simplified pattern, okay? There's more to this pattern, but I'm not gonna share it because it's just in order for just to get through this, okay? Right? When you need food, you feel hunger, you register it through thought, you eat, and hunger goes away. Right? When you need sleep, you feel fatigued, you feel tired, you feel sleepy, you register it, you sleep. Sleepiness goes away. Right? This pattern was informed so relevantly in your childhood. We're not going to go into detail today. I've done it before, but we're not going to do it today. Right? This, you weren't born with this. You were born with this. Right? You were born with these parts. You were born with the need and you were born with the feeling. You were not born knowing this feeling is thirst. I have a need for water. Right? This means I have this need for water. You weren't born knowing any of that. Right? These were learned. These were associations that were formed after countless interactions in your childhood. Okay? Why is this relevant? When we're talking about thoughts, okay? When we're talking about thoughts, you were born with needs. You were born with feelings that your body sends you, right? Your unconscious, your mind informs you. How? With feelings. That's a massive way of how your body informs you. Every single day, all day, you are feeling. Right now, if you're not registering panic, stress, anxiety, you're feeling physically and emotionally safe, right? The thing is, you don't just have physical needs, you also have a mental health, right? So at the very same time that your mind was registering this information, right? This is the adult pattern, okay? There's another pattern before it. Again, we're not going to go into that right now, but there's another pattern before it. At the same time that your mind was registering the information necessary to give you automatic thoughts, right? At the very same time, your mind was also registering information on how you were going to survive emotionally, how your mental health was going to be shaped. Think of your existence as a statement. Think of your existence as a statement, right? How you interact with your environment depends on how you were informed, how your existence was informed, how and when you were going to feel emotionally safe, how and when you were going to receive attention, right? When you were going to be perceived, how and when you were going to receive acceptance, right? When you would be received, how and when your internal world would be deemed valid, your needs, your wants, your thoughts, your feelings, how and when you would be given affection, both verbal and physical, how and when you would receive support. At the exact same time that your mind was registering the relevant information for this, food, water, sleep, etc., your mind was also registering information with this. Okay? Now, this is important. Why? Well, because this part, like I said, right? That part was learned. Right? Today, you know how to fulfill all of this because you got the relevant information. about your physical health. You go anywhere on the planet, everyone's pretty much in accordance. We all need food, water, sleep. We all know this. Anywhere you go on the planet, it's valid. It's validated. We all know this, right? I'm pretty sure you go anywhere on the planet, everybody pretty much agrees there's a mental health. We each have a mental health. But we don't talk about the fact that we each have that our mental health requires that we fulfill emotional needs. If you go to your next door neighbor, ask them if they have mental health. Yeah, sure. But if you ask them what the emotional needs required to maintain that mental health are, everybody's going to have a very different answer. That's because we weren't informed, right? Can you repeat what this was in reference to? Just in terms of this, your mental health, right? When your mind is registering information on how it's going to physically survive, fulfill food, water, sleep, right? Your mind is also registering information on your mental health. If your existence is a statement, right? Your mind is learning how you as a statement are going to be able to express, right? A statement is an expression. You're an expression. Whether you choose to speak or not, you're an expression. So your mind picks up information in your childhood about when you're going to be allowed to express, when you're going to be safe, when you're going to be seen and heard, right? When you're going to be accepted for it, when your internal world is valid, when you're going to be given verbal and physical affection and support, right? Your existence is a statement, okay? And so the thing is that at the very same time that we have physical needs, we also have mental health needs. The problem being we aren't informed on these. We aren't informed on these, right? My parents didn't know what I had basic emotional needs, a need for attention, a very specific need for attention, a very specific need for, right? So they didn't inform me. They knew this. So when I cried as a baby, they knew, hey, maybe they got to be changed. They either have to eat or they have to sleep. Let's try figuring it out. But if they did not know that we have these, baby's going to cry, right? Get a little older, how the parent informs a child and sets boundaries and helps them learn what's relevant, what's going to be healthy, what's not, what it feels like. We're never going to gain that relevant information, right? And so that means every single one of these has a feeling, okay? That means your mind wasn't informed with the relevant info. So one, there's a lack of information, right? Lack of info. You didn't know you had a basic emotional need for safety, much less do you know the feeling that signals it. You didn't know you have a basic need for attention, much less do you know the feeling that signals it. Acceptance, feeling, validation, every single one has a very specific feeling. We don't even know it, nor do we register it today as adults because we weren't informed, right? There's a massive lack of info. You only know this feeling is thirst, right? And it signals the need for water because you associated it, right? That's the thought that you get. You're doing mental math. When you're in this process, you're doing mental math. You don't even register it as an adult because you've done it so much. It's so efficient. It's on automatic now, right? You don't, when this pops up, the thought that you get, right, isn't about the relevant information because you don't even know you have these. You get irrelevant information. Your mind still registered info, right? Instead of learning, hey, you have a need for attention, right? Here, this is what's healthy. This is what it feels like. This is what's not healthy. This is what it feels like when it's not healthy attention. These are the limits. You can express it this way, right? Just like with food, with water, with sleep. You know when you've eaten too much, when you've eaten too little, when you've eaten something that's bad for you. You know how to respond to each. You know all of this stuff, right? When it comes to these, we don't, right? But our mind still produces thoughts because it's going to get, it associated whatever it got, depending on your childhood, right? It's still going to associate information. So what happens before we go into what happens, for example, when you're thirsty and you do not act, right? If you don't act, there's an inaction, you're going to get dehydrated. fit? Yeah. You're going to get dehydrated, right? What happens is, because we weren't relevantly informed here, what happens is we wind up here. Anxiety, stress, right? Critical thoughts, I'm not enough, right? Anger, etc., etc. We wind up here. These are just symptoms. And this is why it's so important to understand that there's a lot of mental math that we are not taught, that mental health, right, has a whole lot of processes behind it. Okay, because a lot of people live here. I lived here. I lived in a lot of places, right? I had major depression, a lot of stuff. I still manage it, right? This doesn't just pop up for no reason. And this is really important for so many reasons. First, because a lot of people live here and they don't understand why, and they don't understand it's a part of a process. There's a lot of mental math that we need to understand to manage this, because we don't have to live with this. You weren't born thinking, I'm not enough. You weren't born with it. Nobody is born with it, okay? You weren't born thinking, I'm not enough because I don't have a job. I'm not enough because I don't have I don't have an income. I'm not enough because you weren't thinking that. You weren't born thinking that. And that's important, because you don't want that. Right? Because in your job search, it is far more efficient to simply feel enough than to have all of these really difficult thoughts weighing you down, feelings weighing you down as you search for a job. Right? It is far more efficient to simply go and seek a job without that job being the only means of you feeling good about yourself. But that's what's happened when we weren't informed in a relevant way. Right? You don't have a lack of info. You have irrelevant info. Let me see if I have space. Do I have space? I think I have space. You all know that if you long press on your screen, you can clear the comments, right? Okay, so in case, I try not to go below this part, but let me clear this out. Make some space. Okay. Right? We're going to talk about this like we did intelligence last week. We're going to kind of dissect it. What happens? Right? Well, because we weren't taught about emotional needs, you weren't given the relevant info. You don't even know the need, much less do you know the feeling that signals that need, much less do you get the relevant thought. Right? The relevant thought. All you feel is this, right? Or you get the thought that tells you you're not enough. Why? Because this becomes how we feel worthy. Right? This is tied to our sense of worth. Right? This is the false need. For those, right? Remember, for those who played the mind game with me, right? This is the false need. And false needs are numerous. Anything that makes you feel, anything that is tied, that your sense of feeling worth is tied to, that's outside of you, is your false need. It can be a job, it can be your whatever, right? You're supposed to just be able to enjoy the things you're out here. But once you need that thing in order to feel good about yourself, it becomes a false need. It's a false need, right? And that doesn't mean you don't, right? We in this society, in this world, we need a job to make money, to et cetera, right? Right? I give you that, absolutely. But the thing is, when that job becomes a source of you feeling good about yourself, that becomes an obstacle, right? That becomes an obstacle, because that now drives you feeling stressed, because now you don't have a job and you're stressed every day about job applications, and you're stressed every day about, right? And that journey from not having a job to having a job is frustrating and stressful and debilitating. It's debilitating for a lot of people, rightfully so. Because now it's not just about getting a job. Now it's about you emotionally. Now it's about you emotionally falling apart, because that is what has become associated to your sense of self, right? That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about this being a false need. right? Your job becomes a sense of worth. It is the thing that is tied to you feeling good, right? Becomes the thing. It is the only way that you're going to feel emotionally safe, right? That you're going to be received, right? If you're nervous, if you go into a gathering and I've been there, I've been there, where you're going to a gathering and you don't want people to ask you not about your job because you don't have a job, and they're going to judge you. It's because, right? Because socially, this becomes the social currency, right? Just like intelligence is a social currency, the job becomes the social currency. It becomes the thing that defines your sense of worth, right? Your sense of worth, your humanity. This is your humanity, both physical and mental. The thing is, we don't condition these. We don't condition this. We condition these, which is why we become so anxious when we're going to step into environments and we don't have a job and we don't want anybody to ask us about it, right? Because this becomes the thing tied to how you are going to be seen and heard, tied to your internal world, right? Suddenly you don't have a job. Nobody wants to hear your opinion. Nobody cares about what you have to say. Your feelings and your needs matter less, right? Because only people who have a job, right? Think about this. This is the narrative that is often given in a lot of, right? Whether you watch the news, media, whatever. This is the narrative that is passed on to us. And again, this is the result of structures. This is the result of structures, right? That tell us this person is only valid if. This person is only valid, right? And it starts in our childhood, right? It starts in our childhood with how we were conditioned to be seen and heard, to seek support, etc., etc., etc. It has become to be emotionally debilitating because I don't want to answer where you are working. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Right? And the thing is, it's not your fault. There's a lot of stuff that was ingrained in you. There's a lot of stuff that was ingrained in you, right? So that you would simply not have a job and feel nervous. And you don't even know where that nervousness is coming from. So that you simply, right, don't have an employment, or maybe you're not making the money that, right, society tells you should be making. And now you're just anxious, right? It comes out in so many ways. It comes out when you don't have a job. It comes out when you do have a job and you're anxious about Mondays, but you're not sure why, right? All of it is speaking to some emotional need that was not informed. And your mind has been conditioned to think, okay, we're only worthy if this, and this. And because we are conditioned that way, it makes us constantly anxious because we constantly have to perform, right? This is about performance. Hold on, wrong marker. It's about performance. It's about performance, right? Getting a job. Hi, Counselor Cat Mom. It's okay. We're speeding through it today. This is about performance. Whether you have a job, whether it's about a job, whether it's how you perform in a relationship, whether it's how you perform in family, right? Whether you're saying the right things, whether you're looking the right way, whether you have the right degree, it's all about performance. When you weren't simply told that you matter, and when your needs weren't simply fulfilled and informed separately from all of the things outside of here, your mind then registers that it's the things out here that are going to help you survive, because they were tied to your emotional needs, right? And they become the fault. They're the only thing your mind can focus on, even though they're not emotional relief. And by that, I mean they're not efficient fuel. They're not efficient fulfillment. They're not real fuel. So you're constantly anxious because they're not real fuel. They're not emotional relief, right? Emotional needs, hi, Susana. The emotional needs require emotional relief. And because you're not getting it, you're trying to substitute it with this. You're constantly anxious. You're constantly stressed. You're constantly, right? So you're constantly in this place, especially when you don't have a job. And it comes out in so many tiny ways because it is tied to your sense of self, right? That it becomes debilitating. It becomes debilitating because your mind has depended on performance. And when you're not performing, suddenly you're out of a job, right? This is why I had broken down. I was already, I think, in breakdown before I left my job. But once I had left my job and I literally wasn't working and I just had to sit and work with my mind and feel and think, I really crashed. Which, honestly, for me, I realized looking back, for me was healthy, but, right, it's a different journey for different people. I crashed. Because suddenly, the thing that defines your sense of self-worth, this becomes a psychological infrastructure that fulfills, inefficiently, but fulfills this, right? It's like needing to perform to get food, water, sleep. And the only way you're going to get food, water, sleep is if you perform. Not by drinking water or sleeping or eating, just by you're going to be immensely tired and fatigued and dehydrated. That's what we're doing with this. And this becomes a massive issue because this becomes tied to everything in your life, right? This is how you're going to feel seen and heard by family. This is how you're going to be emotionally safe in any environment, in the grocery store, etc., everywhere, right? It becomes a part of your emotional existence. And so you struggle to ask for help. You affection, everything becomes difficult. Because if this isn't in existence, if you don't have the job, then you're debilitated. And on top of that, society tells you, thank you, Rosa Gris. On top of that, society tells you, well, you don't have a job, you're lazy. You don't have a job, right? On top of not having a job and feeling worthless, you now feel the stress of society telling you how you're so lazy. You're so this and that, right? And so it's yet another crushing layer on top of you already feeling, you judging yourself, right? And this performance, when I say performance, I don't just mean job. I mean performance in everything, right? Because performance is how your family will see you. Performance is how your friends will love and see you. Is how your partner will love and see you, right? Is how anyone you interact with, because everybody is defined by performance. And so now if you don't perform, everybody, right? Everything is tugging, right, at you in so many directions. You don't understand why. You only live here. And it's important to understand it's because there's so many things that are happening. Remember, your mind is like a spider web. It's like this super interconnected, a bunch of spider webs going in all different directions, right? And when a massive part of that spider web is built on performance, right, then your feelings, when this doesn't exist, your feelings go down the drain, because the only way you've been taught to feel good is this, when it should have never been this. It should never have been this. It should only have been this. You're emotionally safe. You deserve attention, acceptance, validation, affection, support, period. This was always supposed to be separate from you. So, how? You say that again. You constantly feel anxious because I don't remember. Let me think. You constantly feel anxious. You're constantly in this place, right? Because this doesn't exist in your mind because it was never informed. Right? The only thoughts you ever get are, I have to perform. I just have to perform. I don't even know why I have to perform or why I feel this way, but I have to perform because that's how these people are going to accept me. That's all you know. So this doesn't exist, right? So it's just all your mind knows is performance. I have to perform. If I don't perform you're constantly in anxiety because this isn't real fulfillment. It's not fulfillment. It was never supposed to be. This isn't emotional fulfillment, right? In order to sleep, in order to fulfill your need for water, you have to hydrate. In order to fulfill your need for food, you have to eat. In order to fulfill your basic emotional needs, you have to fulfill them with emotional relief. This isn't it. A job isn't emotional relief. It's just this thing that exists out here. But it was tied to it. And so, right, when we condition something like this, we're constantly fatigued, like anxious, because if you don't eat, you're going to get, right, hangry. If you don't hydrate, you're going to get dehydrated. you're getting dehydrated. And so you're relying on something that's not emotional relief, and so you're constantly anxious, right? You have no fuel. This is not fuel. This is extremely poor, right? Like fuel. It's not real fuel, if you think of it that way. So what do? How do we address this? And this takes doing this every single day. Okay? I don't know what part two. Okay, I'm gonna every single day. 2 parts that we've covered here in the past. 2 parts. The mind game, right? 5 elements. The crime scene, right? The victim, the evidence, the perp, and the motive, right? The first part is doing this when, right, you're stressed because you don't have a job, or you're having these thoughts and you don't like them. You sit and you play the mind game. And this isn't about you liking the mind game. This is a strategy, right, that you have to practice. This isn't about you liking the mind game. This isn't about you enjoying the mind game. It's not. This is a strategy that you have to implement. It's kind of like, when you go to the gym at the beginning and you're like just constantly hurting, but you want those gains, you want to get healthy, you want to be able to walk longer, right? And at the beginning you're sore, but it's like you just keep, right? Because this is what you should be, you want something healthy, right? So you stay active somehow. But at the beginning it kind of sucks sometimes. That's what this can be. It can be that. I'm not even going to lie, right? But it's important because it is a strategy. What happens when you play the mind game is you're already fulfilling this without consciously understanding you're doing it. Without your mind, you're distracting your mind by focusing on playing the mind game, and you're giving it the information that it needs to start practicing to understand. Okay, these are feelings. Feelings aren't bad, right? You're literally giving yourself emotional safety, attention, acceptance in really healthy ways. Okay, so play the mind game, right? Or it doesn't have to be this. You can play your own version. Okay, and this is just the first step. So we'll go into the second step. How much time do I have? Okay. So again, the first step is crime scene. The crime scene is your mind. I'm going to go into each one in a little bit. Sorry, it's like super windy outside here. So stuff is like hitting the wall and everything outside. Okay, so the crime scene is your mind. It is important to remember the crime scene. It's important to go through every one of these steps, even though it doesn't feel like it, okay? The crime scene is your mind, and it is important to remember that. Each one of these is practice. It reminds you that it's not about the thing that's out here. It's not about that performance. It's not about that job. It's not about that person, right? It's not about the thing that's out here. It's about what's happening in here. This helps your mind get accustomed to participating, right? To you collaborating with it, to you stopping to analyze what's going on, okay? This is a massive part of this process. And the more that you practice this, the more that you build emotional endurance, okay? So there's a crime scene. The victim is you, okay? That's important because you are not taught to collaborate with yourself. The reason we live here is because we are taught to collaborate with others. And we don't focus on our emotion. We're never taught about our emotional needs, right? You simply know, okay, performance, because performance is how I'm going to, right? They're going to love me, or they're going to see me, or they're going to make me, right? This is how I'm going to belong or fit in. Right? This is important to remember because you're the one being affected by this. You don't want to distract from this stuff. You don't want to run away. You want to be able to look for a job without constantly being stressed, without constantly, that journey from you being unemployed to having a job shouldn't feel like you're worthless the entire time. A lot of people feel that way. I lived that way. And that's not living, right? That you deserve better than that. Right? So it's important to remember you're being affected When you just want to distract and you want to run away and your mind is suggesting that you do that, it's important that you remember you're being affected. You matter. You deserve to live healthy and feel good about yourself, even if you don't have a job. For however long you don't have a job. Okay? So it's important to remember that. The next step is the evidence. What are the symptoms? This is important because remember, we never got information on these. We never got information on the basic emotional needs that we need. We also we don't know the feeling. You don't know the feeling that pops up when you need attention. Just like you know thirst. And thirst is, imagine if you didn't know thirst, but you had a need for water. That's enormous. We don't know the need. You don't know that there's a feeling for each one, but we never registered it. So it's important that to build this, right, in a healthy way, so that we can simply fulfill and move on. It's important to start noticing in the moment when you're here. The way that you get to build this in a healthy way is by first noticing this stuff. Or even when you're just having a good moment, like right now I feel safe. This is what safety feels like, right? What are the feelings that come with it? Name the feelings. Name the physical. How do you feel physically? Is there tension in your body? Are you relaxed? Name this. Because this is what's going to help you note, okay, I'm feeling this thing. Let me check in. Something's going on. It's like when you're dehydrated. When you're dehydrated, you know what it means. And you address it so that it doesn't get worse and you don't fall apart and you can function, right? We never got the association. So this ties very specifically into something here. Sorry, you start to build the formula for what every single one of these is to address it just as efficiently as you know how to address this by noticing first the symptoms, what's happening. And it can start wherever you want. Start with anxiety, start with stress. So maybe you feel something in your neck, tension, and it has nothing to do with like a physical ailment, right? Something like that, right? So notice the symptoms, start to register. Your mind communicates with you through feelings, right? That is the root of your intelligence. Start connecting with it because that's how you're going to manage and take back control so that obstacles don't ruin your day, so that you can just see an obstacle, understand it, fulfill it, inform, manage, and move on with your day, okay? It starts with building this information, okay? The perp is the false need. The perp is the thing that we tend to focus on, right? That's inefficient fuel. It's inefficient fuel. Does inefficient have one N? I think it has one N. Oh my gosh, I'm the English major. Okay, perp. The false need is inefficient fuel. It's like, wait, I need water. But I need to buy those shoes so I can hydrate. That makes no sense. You need to be hydrated so you can go buy those shoes. The perp here is the inefficient fuel. Is it that job? Is it that person that you're like hyper focused on? Is it those shoes? Is it, that your hair being perfect? I don't know. There's so many false needs, okay? This is inefficient fuel, right? It's that thing that you're being sold. It's temporary relief and it's just a Band-Aid. It's just going to keep this coming back because it's not true fuel. It's not actual fuel. It's not about the thing. This isn't the thing that's causing these things realistically, right? It's like if you're here, right, and you need to buy that car, well, you buy that car, it might be nice, but it's not going to fulfill this. You're just going to get worse. So you focus on, and it's important to, this takes time, but it's important to identify this so that you can start taking this out of the equation, right? You don't want the car to be how you think you fulfill water. You don't want that as a part of this equation because it's going to be very efficient, right? You're going to waste a lot of time being dehydrated in your life. We don't want that, right? And the thing is, because we weren't informed on these in a healthy way, we have a lot of these, right? That job that you don't have, that's, right, tugging at your sense of self-worth, that's a very inefficient psychological process if you think about it, okay? So we want to take these out of the equation in terms of mental health. And motive, the true need. The true need is the emotional need. That is very sloppy. Emotional need. The true need is emotional need. This is what we want to find. This is what we want to identify, right? It's not about this thing. It's not about the job. I'm feeling these things because, right, I have been taught that this is going to fulfill me, but it's not about that thing. It's about my need to feel emotionally safe. It's about my need to feel perceived, right? To get attention. It's about my need to be accepted by others in my world, by my family, by my friends, by my partner, right? It's about feeling valid internally, right? I will be worthy if this. No. It's not about that thing. It's about, right? It's about you needing support. So when we're focusing, so this is one process. This is one step. When we're hyper-focusing on, I don't have a job, I feel awful, that just drains you. And then it makes it harder to look for a job. When you want to look for a job, but you have no energy because this thing is you're weighed down heavily, right? So we want to remove those feelings when it comes to it. Those feelings only pop up because that job became improperly associated to your sense of self. It should never have been associated. We need to remove that association. And we do that by understanding, I'm focusing on this job, but it's not about the job. Let me focus on what it's actually about. And so the next step, I think I have space. The next step, so this is step 1 with a bunch of sub-steps. The next step is asking yourself, okay, what do I want to feel? Right? And this is, I went into this more depth in a different live where we focus on, okay, this is the processing part. This is a part where you process. You don't want to just run away from this. Right? In order to set this aside in a healthier way, to learn to manage these things as they pop up so that they don't become obstacles, first, you need 2 parts. We need to process, right? And then we need to manage in a healthy way. So first we got it. This is a part of processing. This is how you process it, right? The second part is, okay, what do I want to feel? You can ask yourself, what do I feel? What do I want to feel? This is, right? What do I feel? What do I want to feel? Right? If this is about my need for attention, this is about my need for feeling accepted. What do I want to feel? There's not going to be much that pops up in that moment, possibly, right? Because when you're so focused on getting a job, you may not know what you want to feel. You just want to feel good. You just want to feel good. You just want to not be stressed and feel worthless because you don't have a job. Okay? It's fine. If you don't even know, build this bubble up. This part is how you start to learn to create healthy associations with this. Right? Create healthy associations with this. Create a bubble in your mind. I know that this is about acceptance. Build an image. Build a movie, right? Build, a painting, whatever you want. Build it in your mind. What do I want to feel? This is about attention. I'm sorry. What did I say? Acceptance. Right? It can be more than one. I'm just giving you this example. This is about acceptance. This isn't about actually the job that I don't have. It's just that when I don't have a job, I don't feel accepted. I'm not going to be accepted, and that feels bad. I want to feel safe and confident in my existence. Absolutely. Thank you, Teresa. I want to feel safe. What does that mean? I want to feel safe. I want to feel accepted. I want to feel loved. Right? You don't have to have all these so clear at the beginning. I want to feel safe. What does that look like? Well, maybe that looks like, okay, I'm sitting here and I don't have a job and I feel worthy even though I don't have a job. That means I can sit here and I can understand that I deserve love, I deserve attention. That means I can go and interact with others and not be employed. And they ask me about my job and I feel okay telling them that I don't have a job and they don't judge me because I am worthy as a human. whatever it looks like for you. Build a conversation around what you want to feel and what this looks like in a healthy way, what this looks like in a healthy way, right? Because right now, you're focused on the bubble of, I don't feel good, I'm not worthy, because etc., whatever the false need is, right? You're processing that, you know what it's about. Now, you have to fill a very different bubble in your mind where you create the healthy associations that were never taught to you in your childhood. And that means you envision it in your own way. What I tell you, what I just told you, that the conversation I'm having with myself, I've had that type of conversation so many times. But I did, in doing it, your mind gets used to it. Your mind gets used to being in that other bubble. Not this bubble. This is just the processing bubble. Your mind gets used to, okay, I deserve to feel safe, seen, and heard. Not having a job doesn't mean I don't deserve to. I still deserve to feel safe. If my friend doesn't have a job, I still love them. I still see them. I still hear them. I deserve that too. And envision if you're afraid of going into a scenario with other people or being asked about a job, envision what it looks like in a healthy way. Envision what it looks like if you're valued simply for existing and not for the job. Create that narrative, create the moment in your mind and create the script. There are moments when and that's a part of rebuilding the healthy stuff, right? What are the feelings attached to it? Physically, how do you look? How do you feel? How do you express? When you have these what do you want? What do you want to feel, and what comes with that bubble? What comes with attention? What comes with acceptance? I want to feel better. Exactly, Asasana. So what does that look like? I want to feel better. What does that moment look like? Envision it in your mind, right? Because the chances, and it's okay at the beginning if you don't have much. It's like kind of like, what is it? My nieces and nephews play Roblox. You know how like they go and they build little like houses and everything? In Roblox, right? Build that for yourself here. I want to feel safe. Okay, perfect. What does that look like? Safety means I go into this environment and I can say this and this happens and this is how I feel and this is how I express. Don't focus on, but what if they, no. Build safety in your mind. Think about your little niece or your little nephew or a little kid coming to you, right? And saying, I don't feel enough. What do you tell them? What do you tell them? Tell that to yourself. Tell that to yourself. All right? When a little kid comes and tells you they're anxious, right? What do you tell them to help them process that? Tell that to yourself. Every single one of those conversations is the conversations your parents were supposed to have with you to help you build this. Have them with yourself. That is how I came out of breakdown. That's how I came out of, right? If any of this is just too confusing, it's okay. Have those little conversations with yourself, because whether or not you know it, you're already doing this simply by participating in all of this. But especially, you have to process, right? But this helps you with the info that's irrelevant. You have to weed it out. So it's important to do this step, but also this step, because this helps you build the associations that you never got in your childhood, so that this doesn't become this scary thing and it's not constantly happening, right? This is how you get rid of I'm not enough. I'm not enough was built. You get rid of it with this. Okay? Hi, Juste. Sí, en un ratito voy a empezar en español, ¿vale? Esta es mi hora de inglés y ahorita voy a empezar. En español lo voy a reiterar, ¿vale? I don't remember if there was anything else that I wanted to say. I think that was it. Build it in your mind. Because, yeah. Yeah, tell me, Teresa, what's the oh my God about? Okay, I'm happy that's helpful. What part? Because all of these, we've talked about all of this, right? And so we only have an hour, so I try to connect different things in different ways because it's a massive thing. This is massive. This is massive, okay? And so now we have to start building the connections that we never had. right? And that looks like, okay, strategizing. And you don't even have to, again, when we're doing this, I'm talking to you, but I reiterate a lot of stuff I'm talking to you consciously, the person here who's tired of this. I'm also talking to your unconscious. The more you hear this stuff, right? This was built because you heard it so much in so many ways and little interactions. Not directly, but maybe indirectly. I'm talking to your unconscious, your subconscious, in reiterating stuff, because the more you expose yourself to this type of information, the more it starts getting familiar, and the more you start, right? And so I try to somehow connect everything in some way. It is recorded, and I really suck at putting them up anywhere. The ADHD is really, I really need to start putting this up, I have to do this. I have to post them to YouTube. I should anyway, okay. Build the scenario, build safety. Yeah, build it. Right? Think about how, that's how I built safety when it came to me being in the homeless shelter, and I had to, that's how I rebuilt safety. Literally, I had to build a space in my mind, and that was through, what does this look like? And there's so many, everything I talk about is just surface level. There's a lot more to it. There are times now when even now, I still rebuild. This is a lifelong thing. I'm not done. I go back, and there are moments, especially I remember when, at the gym or whatever, when I go back and rebuild moments in my mind. I go back and I have moments where I go revisit me as a kid in difficult, how you have those difficult memories that kind of pop up sometimes, and something happened in your childhood and it was not a good moment. And sometimes my mind brings it up. And that's just going to be about one of these. Maybe because in the moment I need attention. And so it brings up a moment where I lacked attention. And instead of focusing on that moment, now what I do instead of ruminating on it and how I felt bad and how it's such, now what I do, and I'll do this especially at the gym. I don't know why it happens at the gym, but it happens at the gym, where I will go and revisit little J's from the past, and I give me what I needed in that moment. And I hug myself in that moment, and I give myself the attention in that moment, and I make myself, and I reshape and rewrite the script of difficult moments that's what I'm doing. That's what I do. I still do. And there's moments where I'll get together with other J's from my past and we'll sit with each other. It's just, and so I show myself, I build all these in my mind in so many ways. And for you, it might look different, right? I love water. And so I always picture myself with my younger self at a waterfall. And maybe we're just talking to each other, and I'm walking them through whatever I needed in that moment. Right? That's reshaping. That's teaching your mind, hey, these difficult feelings happen, but this is what emotional safety looks like. When somebody gives you emotional safety, this is what attention looks like. This is what it is when somebody validates you, when somebody supports you. Right? This is what I mean when I say you have all the tools right here to rewrite the entire script of what causes this on a daily basis. It's so good. Okay. Hopefully I remember. Yeah, I'll do it. I will do it. I have hopefully some time this weekend. So what's today? The 20th. What's today? November 20th. Okay. I'll post them. Thank you, everybody. I'm glad that it helped. I'm glad that you were here. So here's the thing. Where does physical safety fall in the processing step? So when I'm talking about this stuff, I'm usually just talking about emotional stuff. I mean, mental health in terms of just the building the emotional needs, but physical health is absolutely a part of, right? Because think about right now, the people in Gaza, right? Physically, they're not in a place where they can process, right? They need us to help get them to a place of physical safety. So that's a complicated question. Physical processing in terms of emotional stuff, I don't know that I know how to answer that right now. I mean, I think we're much better at recognizing when we're not physically safe, right? And saying, hey, right? So in terms, I don't know if you're asking it in terms of like trauma, in terms of like how to process this when there's physical, right? When there's like some sort of like physical danger and emotionally that's a way more complicated question. I don't know that I'll talk about it, right? That we're going to talk about it here. But that's obviously relevant. And I think that deserves way more attention in its own moment. If you want to send me a DM with a very like more specific details about what you mean with that, maybe we can touch on that, okay? That's awesome, Counselor Calmon. I'm happy. Okay, you mean abuse. Okay. I appreciate you all too. What I was going to say is the holidays are coming this week, depending on what you celebrate. My family's honoring Indigenous people lost, but we still get together. And so I'm going to probably be here today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. If y'all are going to be here, right? If you're not going to be here, let me know. But Thursday, I'm not going to be here. I'm going to be with family. Friday, I'm going to be doing a live protest with one free community. Otherwise, we'll continue to talk about these issues until Wednesday. Okay, so I'll be here until Wednesday, and then and then next Monday. So you'll be here. Okay, great. So I'll be here. Come with this. If you all have and you want to discuss this more, right? Like what? Let me know. Come in tomorrow or Wednesday, and we'll continue and we'll go into it further. Because again, right, this gets really confusing. This is a lot of mental math. We need to reiterate. Even if you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth, putting it into practice can be difficult when we were never taught. So by all means, come in tomorrow and Wednesday with your questions, with your thoughts, with, right, I need clarification on this, or with, this is how I did it. That's fine too. Okay, y'all. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm glad this was helpful. Yeah. I'm thinking, should I? No, I think I'll remember this. I think I'll remember it. Okay, y'all. So I'll see you all tomorrow. I'm going to start in Spanish now. And it's going to take me time to post this, but if I do, when I post it to YouTube. But hopefully, yeah, just be patient. Okay. Thank you all for being here. I will see you tomorrow. Hola a todos. Para quienes estén aquí en español. Hola, ¿cómo están? ¿Cómo estamos? Me pasé un poquito, disculpen. Luego me paso. ¿Cómo están? ¿Cómo están? ¿Cómo se sienten? ¿Cómo les va? ¿Cómo les va? ¿Cómo van a tener vacaciones este fin? I will say it to you like this other day. You know what? Who does? I know if you're on Instagram, I have Instagram, same at. You can send it through there if you want, because I think they let you do it. I've done it that way before because they don't let you here. So you don't have to like worry about typing stuff out. If you want to send it through Instagram and you have an Instagram, I'm totally cool with that. That way you don't have to worry about writing it out. Feliz lunes, todos. ¿Cómo estamos? Un poco. Qué padre. Okay, perfect. Thank you. That's better. That way you don't have to worry about writing it out. Entonces bueno, pues yo también estoy practicando el español porque luego hay unas cosas que no me sé y me tienen que enseñar. ¿Cómo están? ¿Cómo están todos? ¿Cómo se sienten? ¿Cómo les va? ¿Cómo les fue el fin de semana? ¿Con qué? ¿Hay algo en particular que quieran conversar ahora? ¿Hay algo en particular que los esté... Sí, que con lo que estén batallando lo podemos hablar. Ya se me acabó esto. Si no, pues seguimos con la plática que di en el live de inglés, que fue con personas que estaban hablando sobre el estrés de no tener trabajo. El estrés de tal vez estar desempleado o desempleada. El estrés de ese tipo de cosas, ¿no? Y siento que eso se puede traducir a muchos otros temas, porque este concepto porque hay dos avenidas que se pueden tomar, ¿no? Cuando alguien está sin trabajo, sí hay dos avenidas que se pueden tomar. Hay la primera avenida y no tiene que ser trabajo. Puede ser sí, porque la sociedad nos enseña que a menos que si no hay rendimiento de alguna manera, tú no vales, tú no cuentas, ¿sí? No te vamos a escuchar, no te vamos a ver, porque tú no estás contribuyendo. Tienes que contribuir, si no, como persona humana, no tienes valor, ¿vale? Entonces, cuando estamos hablando de esto, ¿cómo se combate eso? Porque es muy ineficiente. Es muy... creo que se dice así. Es ineficiente, ¿no? Cuando tu valor está definido por estas cosas, que tienen que hacer esta cosa. Si no tienes esa cosa, si no estás haciendo esta cosa, tú no vales y no te vamos a escuchar. Eso es muy ineficiente. ¿Por qué? Porque si tú piensas, si hay dos personas que no tienen trabajo, la persona A, que es la mayoría de personas, yo estaba incluida en esto, la persona A, si no tiene trabajo, se siente mal, está aplicando a lugares, está tomando su tiempo y se siente mal, se siente estresado, porque pues no vale la pena. Primero está lo de pues se necesita dinero para comprar cosas, ¿sí? Eso es algo válido, pero cuando estamos hablando de lo emocional, es ineficiente porque la persona A está buscando un trabajo y está estresada desde el tiempo que no tiene trabajo hasta el tiempo que consigo trabajo. Puede ser días, puede ser semanas, puede ser meses, más. Desde no tener trabajo a tener trabajo, todo ese tiempo la persona emocionalmente se siente estresada, agotada, cansado, están ansiosos, estresados, se sienten mal de sí mismos como persona, porque su valor depende de ese trabajo. Y eso no es eficiente, ¿sí? Porque si tenemos a la persona B, la mayoría de nosotros somos como la persona A. Hasta que tengamos el trabajo, ya, ahora sí. ¿Sí? Pero todo ese tiempo lo vivimos estresados. La persona B, la persona que sabe que tiene valor con o sin trabajo, puede estar en esa misma cantidad de tiempo desde no tener trabajo a tener trabajo y no se siente estresado, ansioso, mal, no se siente tonta, no se siente incapaz, porque su valor no depende de ese trabajo. Y entonces se vive esa experiencia, esos días, esos meses, ¿sí? Con un estrés emocional mucho más bajo, lo cual le ayuda a esa persona a poder ir a conseguir trabajo, poder ir a buscar trabajo, sin estar emocionalmente agotada o agotado. Y eso es muy importante porque no vivimos así y podemos vivir así, ¿sí? No queremos a personas cuyo valor solo viene del desempleo, porque cuando no tienen empleo, pues uno se siente mal y eso afecta que esa persona pueda conseguir trabajo. Y encima de ello se siente mal y el mundo le dice, tú no vales la pena porque no tienes trabajo. Ay, tú perezoso, perezosa. Sí, son muchos niveles emocionalmente que afectan a la salud mental, ¿sí? Es como si tienes hambre y tú no comes y no te hidratas y no duermes, pues vas a estar agotada, deshidratada y hambrienta. No vas a poder buscar trabajo de una manera saludable. No vas a tener la energía. Es lo mismo con lo emocional. Entonces es importante saber hacer a un lado las cosas que nos definen, que nunca debieron definirnos. ¿Cómo se hace eso? Pues bueno, a ver, ¿cuánto tiempo tengo? Para hablarlo todo, ojalá en un momentito. Ok. Todos tenemos necesidades físicas. ¿Sí? El comer, ¿sí? Dormir, agua. Tenemos más, pero enfoquémonos en esas. Tenemos una necesidad. ¿Y qué? Sale un sentimiento. Nuestra mente manda un sentimiento que registramos por pensamiento. ¿Sí? Y que satisfacemos con acción. Tú necesitas comida, tu cuerpo te manda hambre, ¿sí? Lo registras por pensamiento, tengo hambre. Y comes, actúas. Comes y actúas, ¿vale? ¿Cómo? ¿Qué pasa? Pues esa hambre se te quita. Cuando tu cuerpo necesita descansar, te manda sueño, lo registras por pensamiento, tengo sueño. Te acuestas a dormir y se quita ese sueño. ¿Sí? Lo mismo con cada necesidad física. Todos los días lo haces así. Todos los días. Naciste con esta parte. Naciste con las necesidades y naciste con el sentimiento que te dice, oye, algo nos falta. Esto lo aprendiste. ¿Sí? Ese pensamiento que te llega es información que tu mente asoció y ahora te lo manda, tú lo registras como un pensamiento. No naciste con esto. No naciste sabiendo que este sentimiento es hambre. No naciste sabiendo que necesitas comer. No naciste con esa información. Naciste con esto. Esto lo aprendiste con interacciones en tu niñez. Ahora, ¿qué más había? A la misma vez que tú estabas aprendiendo sobre tus necesidades físicas, estabas aprendiendo sobre tu salud mental. ¿Vale? Estás aprendiendo sobre tu salud mental. Estabas aprendiendo, considera esto, tus necesidades físicas. Tu mente estaba aprendiendo sobre cómo sobrevivir físicamente. Esta es la información que tu mente registró sobre cómo ayudarte a satisfacer tus necesidades físicas. ¿Sí? A la misma vez que estaba registrando esto, tu mente también estaba registrando información sobre cómo satisfacer tu salud mental. ¿Sí? Cómo tú ibas a poder expresarte. Cómo tu entorno te iba a dejar sentir seguridad emocional. Cuando tú ibas a ser atendida, atención. Cuando ibas a recibir atención. Cuando ibas a ser percibida. ¿Cuándo ibas a ser aceptada? ¿Sí? ¿Cuándo ibas a ser recibida como persona? ¿Cuándo ibas a recibir validación? Cuando tu mundo interno, lo que quieres, lo que sientes, lo que opinas, es válido. Cuando recibes afecto, tanto físico como verbal, y cuando recibirías apoyo. A la misma vez que tu mente en tu niñez registró esta información, también estaba registrando información sobre esto. La diferencia es que, pues, como humanos, reconocemos que todos tenemos que comer, dormir, hidratar, etcétera, etcétera. Pero no reconocemos que tenemos necesidades emocionales. Tus papás no sabían que tenían que enseñarte esto. A mis papás no sabían. No me enseñaron, no me dijeron, ¿sabes qué? Tú tienes una necesidad de atención. Esto es saludable, esto no es saludable. Así se siente la atención saludable, así se siente así se puede pedir, así no se... No, no. No te dicen, tú tienes una necesidad emocional, ¿sí? De sentirte segura para poder expresarte, ¿sí? Tú tienes una necesidad de pedir apoyo. Cuando tú te sentías mal y no podías tú beber agua, pues te daban de beber. Te daban de beber porque estás mal. Es lo mismo con la necesidad emocional. Tú también necesitas apoyo. Pero la mayoría de nosotros no pedimos ayuda porque nunca nos informaron de una manera saludable. Ahora nos da miedo pedir ayuda. Ahora nos da miedo decir, ¿tengo que hablar esto? No. ¿Por qué? Porque nos sentimos mal, sentimos como que vamos a hacer una carga, etcétera, etcétera, etcétera. Entonces, ¿qué pasó? Pues nuestra mente no recibió la información necesaria. Nuestra mente aún tiene estas necesidades y hay un sentimiento específico que la señala, ¿sí? Tú sabes, tú conoces muy distintamente lo que hambre es. Tú conoces sed, tú conoces sueño y lo conoces así. Y sabes lo que quiere decir y sabes cómo satisfacerlo, etcétera, etcétera. Con esto no. Tú tienes una necesidad de atención, una necesidad emocional básica de atención. Hay un sentimiento que la señala, pero como nunca recibimos la información necesaria, ahora no tenemos la palabra, no la sabemos ni registrar, como sabemos registrar esto. ¿Sí? Entonces, ¿qué pasa? Pues aún nos llega un pensamiento. Tu mente aún quiere que tú quieres ayudarte a satisfacer. Pero como nunca recibió la información necesaria, hay una falta de información. ¿Sí? No, tú no recibiste esto. Hay una falta de información y hay información irrelevante asociada a tus necesidades emocionales, las necesidades que no sabes que tienes. Tu mente solo sabe lo que te enseñaron, cómo te condicionaron a ser vista, escuchada, valorada, amada, apoyada, porque no sabes ni que tienes esto. Entonces hay una falta de información y hay información irrelevante asociada con esto. Entonces, ¿qué pasa? Pues cuando tú, no sé si quepa, cuando tú no te hidratas, ¿sí? Si no actúas y comes, si hay una inacción y no comes, ¿qué va a pasar? Pues te vas a enojar. ¿Sí? Vas a enojar porque tienes hambre. Si no actúas y comes y en vez hay una inacción, te vas a enojar. Si tú necesitas agua, sientes sed y no te hidratas, no se va a quitar la sed, te vas a deshidratar. ¿Sí? Si tú tienes sueño y no descansas, te vas a fatigar. Ahora, con esto, como no recibimos la información necesaria, pues estamos en inacción porque no satisfacemos de una manera eficiente. ¿Qué pasa? Pues terminamos en ansiedad, enojo, estrés, ¿sí? Ese pensamiento que dije, no soy suficiente. Ay, no, se ve bien raro. No, ok, no soy suficiente. Ahí se ve, bueno, medio se ve. Vivimos aquí. Vivimos en este lugar de ansiedad y no sabemos por qué. En enojo, en estrés, en celos. Siempre aquí. Porque nunca recibimos la información relevante. Solo recibimos información que no es relevante. solo no registramos esto. Entonces vivimos aquí. Tú solo vas a valer la pena si tienes este trabajo. El trabajo. Tu mente se enfoca en ese trabajo, en ese dinero, en ese cochecito, en esa persona tóxica. Se enfoca en esas cosas. Y terminamos aquí, siempre. Terminamos aquí y no sabemos por qué. Terminamos aquí y no sabemos por qué. Porque, pues, ¿qué nos enseñaron nuestros padres? Y de nuevo, esto no se trata de culpar a los papás. Esto se trata de entender el proceso mental para editar el guión interno. Para que esto no se vuelva un obstáculo. Para no vivir aquí. ¿Sí? Porque cuando estamos aquí es porque ya nos pasamos de todo un proceso y no hubo satisfacción. Esto es deficiencia. Estamos en deficiencia. Hay que empezar a entender cómo se satisface. Empezando a ver, pues bueno, estoy enfocada en este trabajo, en conseguir ese trabajo, en conseguir esa cosa. ¿Sí? Pero queremos poder esperar a conseguir ese trabajo sin el estrés, sin la ansiedad, sin el miedo constante, sin no soy suficiente. Porque, pues, no vale la pena vivir así. Vale la pena buscar ese trabajo, pero en un lugar de paz, en un lugar de calma, en un lugar donde conocemos que valemos, somos valorables, punto. ¿Sí? Pero cuando ese trabajo, cuando ese rendimiento es lo que nos enseñaron, cuando nos enseñaron que tú solo tienes valor si sabes rendir. Tu familia solo te va a querer si sabes rendir. Solo vas a tener pareja si sabes rendir. Solo te quieren tus amigos si sabes rendir. ¿Sí? Tus opiniones solo se van a escuchar. Solo te van a escuchar lo que quieres, lo que sientes, lo que opinas, si sabes rendir. Solo te van a dar apoyo si sabes rendir. ¿Sí? Esto se vuelve un obstáculo. Este se vuelve un obstáculo. Es como decir, pues, si tú no tienes ese trabajo, no vas a poder, tú no mereces agua, dormir. Tú no mereces comer. No tiene sentido. Porque para poder rendir, tienes que estar hidratada, ¿sí? Tienes que haber comido nutrición para tener la energía. Tienes que haber bebido agua para poder ir y rendir, ¿sí? Pero el problema es que esto se ata a nuestro valor propio y no debe de ser así. Es ineficiente. Es como, ¿cómo se dice? Fuel. Es como fuel. Es como gasolina que no es eficiente. Imagínate un coche deportivo, un Ferrari. Imagínate un Ferrari. Imagínate esto, tu mente es un Ferrari. Imagínate poniéndole a ese Ferrari de gasolina, poniéndole lechuga. ¿Qué pasa? No va a trabajar. No va a trabajar. ¿Sí? No va a servir. No va a durar. No vas a poder manejar ese cochecito rojo. Porque esa lechuga no es gasolina. No es eficiente para lo que necesita el coche para poder correr, para poder funcionar, para poder llevarte hasta donde tú quieras. Cuando tu mente no recibe la información necesaria, ni la gasolina necesaria, no vas a saber correr, vas a estar aquí. Esto no es gasolina, es ineficiente. Esto nunca debió ser asociado a tu sentido de valor. Nunca. Eres menos eficiente cuando eso pasa, porque vives aquí. Porque si no lo tienes, si no estás rindiendo y no tienes el trabajo, ni el título, ni la persona tóxica, siempre estás ansiosa, a un ansioso y no es eficiente, no es eficiente. Entonces, y eso tiene que ver con el rendimiento, con el trabajo, con cualquier cosa que está acá afuera. ¿Sí? Nada que está acá afuera te puede hacer más valorable. Y cuando te atas a esa cosa que está acá afuera, pasa esto. Porque no es eficiente, no es gasolina saludable. ¿Sí? Las necesidades emocionales requieren de alivio emocional, como las necesidades físicas requieren de alivio muy específico. Tú tienes hambre, tienes que comer. Necesitas agua, tienes que hidratarte. Necesitas dormir, tienes que descansar. No hay nada que no hay otra alternativa. Ese cochecito rojo lo puedes tener, pero si no duermes, te vas a fatigar. Es lo mismo con esto, pero nunca nos enseñaron a satisfacer esto. Entonces, ¿cómo lo hacemos? ¿Cómo lo hacemos? Hay dos pasos. Hay dos partes. Primero, se juega un jueguito. Eso, exactamente. La mente es como el coche. ¿Sí? Necesitas mantenerlo todos los días. Sabemos cómo hacerlo como lo físico. Con lo físico sabemos hacerlo todos los días. No lo hacemos con lo emocional. Normalmente las personas sienten esto y corren y se distraen y luego regresa y regresa y regresa y no se sienten suficiente o no soy suficientemente atractivo o solo soy atractivo si estoy... No. No queremos eso. Y eso se hace manteniendo todos los días. ¿Sí? Para no estar aquí. Imagínense no tener esto, no soy suficiente. Imagínense estar en el lugar de yo soy suficiente. ¿Sí? Soy suficiente. ¿Cómo? Pues primero hay que procesar. Hay dos partes. Y este es un jueguito que ya lo he compartido con varias... Yo lo he compartido, pero aquí lo voy a dar un sumario. Es el primer de dos pasos. El primer paso es el jueguito de la mente. Cuando a ti te salga cualquier de estas cosas, cuando te empieces a estresar por lo que tú quieras, porque no tienes ese trabajo, porque no tienes ese título, porque te sale el pensamiento que te dice que no eres suficiente, juega este jueguito, ¿sí? Tiene 5 elementos. La escena del crimen, ¿sí? La víctima, la evidencia, el victimario, y el motivo. ¿Vale? Y cada de estas, bueno, este es un sumario. A ver, les cuento cada una. La escena del crimen es tu mente. La víctima eres tú. La evidencia son los síntomas. El victimario es la necesidad falsa. Y el motivo es la necesidad emocional. ¿Ok? ¿Por qué importa cada una de estas partes? La escena del crimen es tu mente. Esto es importante porque normalmente nos enfocamos en lo que está acá afuera. Nos enfocamos en lo que está acá afuera y no tiene nada que ver con ello. Es importante recordar que no se trata de ese título, no se trata de esa persona que te hizo enojar, no se trata de ese trabajo y cómo te está haciendo ansioso. Ese estrés no se trata de ese pensamiento, ¿sí? Que te dice que esa persona sabe qué. No se trata de esa persona. Se trata, lo que está pasando está aquí, ¿sí? Y para poder editar el guión mental, es importante recordar que hay que regresar aquí. Hay que entender que lo que nos está pasando está aquí. No se trata de lo que está acá afuera. La víctima eres tú. Es muy importante recordar esa parte, porque estamos muy acostumbrados a colaborar con todos los demás, que me acepten, que me quieran, que me vean, que me escuchen. Pero no te acuerdas, nunca te enseñan que tú eres quien está sufriendo con esto. Que tú mereces sentirte valorada, escuchada, que tú mereces atención, que tú mereces apoyo. Que la persona afectada aquí eres tú y tú mereces vivir de una manera más saludable. Sentir esto, tú, para que no corras, ¿sí? Para que estos obstáculos no se vuelvan una cosa cotidiana. La evidencia son los síntomas, ¿sí? La evidencia son los síntomas, ¿sí? Es importante recordar para poder rellenar las partes que nos faltan en este proceso. Los síntomas pueden ser ansiedad, enojo, estrés, ese pensamiento que tal vez no te gusta, tal vez sientes algo físicamente, estás tensa, ¿sí? Es importante notar esto para empezar a ver de dónde viene, para notar, ¿sabes qué siento esto? Deja yo, me pregunto cómo estoy, pego atención a lo que me está pasando, hago el trabajo necesario para satisfacer. El victimario es la necesidad falsa. Es la cosa que normalmente con la que estamos distraídos acá afuera, ¿sí? Lo que está acá afuera es lo que nos distrae. Que no, yo no me voy a sentir bien hasta que tenga ese trabajo. Yo no voy a valer la pena hasta que esté con esta persona. Yo no voy a valer la pena hasta que sea tan inteligente. Hasta que yo haga esto. Hasta que yo sea esto. Hable así. No. Eso es gasolina ineficiente, ¿sí? No, las necesidades emocionales solo se pueden satisfacer con alivio emocional. Entonces hay que empezar a deshacernos de estas asociaciones que no tienen nada que ver. Hay que enfocarnos en lo que en verdad está pasando. Si te sientes mal porque no tienes trabajo, pues la verdad es que no se trata del trabajo. Es que te enseñaron que así era la única manera que ibas a ser vista y escuchada, que te ibas a sentir emocionalmente segura, que te ibas a sentir validada internamente, que ibas a recibir apoyo, etcétera, etcétera. No te enfoques en lo que está acá afuera. Y esto puede ser difícil. Esto no es un proceso, es un proceso incómodo. Esto es un proceso incómodo que nos afecta, ¿sí? No es algo que sea fácil. Esto es como empezamos a editar y escribir un nuevo guión, ¿sí? Y esto no quiere decir, es como cuando estás comenzando a hacer ejercicio, cuando estás comenzando, ¿sí? A hacer ejercicio y al comienzo ya sabes que quieres hacerlo, ya sabes que es algo saludable y ya sabes que tú quieres hacerlo porque es bueno para ti. Pero todo te duele y al comienzo está bien difícil y sientes ese quemazón y quieres parar, pero los primeros minutos, eso es esto. Pero así es como crecemos el poder hacer más trabajo, ¿sí? Es como crecemos el no estar aquí. Este trabajo, esto es procesar. Es procesar. El primer paso es procesar. Y esto lo jugué yo, lo empecé a hacer yo, es una distracción. Es una manera para que tú te distraigas y distraigas tu mente y a la misma vez estés procesando. Y cuando estás haciendo esto, sin saberlo, si no entiendes nada más de esto, cuando tú empiezas a jugar este jueguito, ya estás informándole a tu mente sobre este proceso. Quieras o no, ya lo estás haciendo. Cuando tú te sientas a decir, bueno, ¿esto de qué se trata? Yo siento esto, estoy aquí, siento esto, me estoy enfocando en esta cosa, pero ya sé que no se debe tratar de esto. Déjame recuerdo cuál es la escena del crimen. Cuando tú estás solo intentando jugar esto, tú ya estás informándolo a tu mente porque te estás dando a tu mente el momento, el tiempo para enseñarle lo que es la seguridad emocional, lo que es sentarse con estas cosas difíciles, lo que es atenderte a ti, percibirte a ti misma, lo que es recibir lo que estás sintiendo y aún saber manejarlo, validando lo que sientes adentro, lo que quieres, ¿sí? Tal vez puedes estar dándote afecto, dependiendo del momento, ¿sí? Entonces tú ya estás, al solo participar en esto, es procesar y ya es informarle a tu mente, dándote la información que necesitas. Si tú piensas en cómo de chiquita o de chiquito tus papás, ¿sí?, deberían de haber estado te enseñando, eran conversaciones difíciles, eran conversaciones como, pues, ahorita estás llorando, ¿qué pasa? ¿Qué está pasando? Ah, eso es ansiedad. ¿Tú quieres atención? ¿No recibiste la atención? ¿No se siente bien? Bueno, así se puede hacer, es lo que podemos hacer. Esto es saludable, esto no es saludable. ¿Sí? Esas conversaciones son lo que tenían que haberte dado tus papás de pequeño o de pequeña. Esto, cuando tú participas contigo en un momento difícil, tú te estás dando esas mismas conversaciones. Eso es lo que tu mente necesita. Así es como tu mente informó esto de pequeña o de pequeño. Ahora, el procesar eso de esta manera o de una manera distinta, si a ti se siente más cómodo de una manera más distinta o de un juego diferente, vale, eso también es válido. La segunda parte, esto es procesar, es entender. Es extremadamente importante entender qué está pasando. La segunda parte es para cambiar el guión. Esto es entender lo que está pasando, lo que formó tu mente. La segunda parte es preguntarte, ¿qué quiero sentir? Sí, esto es qué siento, qué está pasando. La segunda parte, cómo evitas el guión de una manera saludable, es preguntarte, ¿qué quiero? Esto es lo que está pasando, esto es lo que yo quiero sentir. Ahorita me siento ansiosa porque no tengo ese trabajo. ¿Sí? Estoy ansiosa porque no tengo ese trabajo. Ok, pero yo entiendo que yo quiero sentirme bien. No tengo ese trabajo, ok, pero quiero poder no tener un trabajo y aún entender que yo valgo la pena, que yo soy suficiente. Eso es lo que quiero. ¿Sí? Lo que hay que hacer en este momento, con esta parte de estas matemáticas mentales, es crecer esa visión, ese momento en tu mente. Si tu sobrino o nieto o quien sea viene y te dice, oye, yo no me siento suficiente, ¿qué le dirías? ¿Cuál sería la conversación para ayudarle a esa pequeña o pequeño a entender que ellos son suficientes? Date esa misma conversación a ti. Date el espacio para crecer lo que es el sentirte valorable, aunque no tengas trabajo, aunque no tengas esa relación, aunque no tengas, etcétera, etcétera. Dale a tu mente, crea esa visión en tu mente, ese momento. ¿Dónde estás? ¿Qué sientes? ¿Cómo te ves? No te enfoques en ellos, en lo que ellos dirían. No. No te enfoques en ellos. Enfócate en lo que tú quieres. ¿Cómo quieres sentirte? ¿Cómo quieres expresarte? Si tú eres suficiente. Si tú te sientes suficiente, aunque no tengas ese trabajo, aunque no tengas esa persona, aunque no tengas ese cochecito, aunque no puedas ir en ese... No, enfócate en ti. Lo que estás haciendo en ese momento es dándole la información a tu mente sobre lo que es la atención saludable. Estás creando ese espacio sobre lo que tú quieres sentir, sobre cómo debes de ser valorada o valorado, sin atar esa necesidad falsa a ti, ¿sí? Para que tú puedas entrar en un entorno sin ese trabajo y aún entender que tú vales la pena y que tú mereces participar. Y los límites saludables, para que tú puedas pedir ayuda, para que tú puedas ir a buscar una oportunidad sin el miedo de no ser suficiente, de no esto, ¿sí? Sí, extremadamente poderoso. Y es importante empezar a entender que ese mecanismo emocionalmente tiene muchísima información y la podemos manejar. No tenemos que vivir en ansiedad, en enojo, en estrés. No tenemos que vivir. Estas cosas son saludables. Son saludables. Es importante que tu cuerpo te pueda decir, que te pueda mandar ansiedad, enojo, estrés. Lo que no queremos es vivir aquí, ¿sí? De nuevo, es como ese coche. Es como ese coche. Tú quieres tener esas señales que te dicen, oye, algo está mal aquí, ¿sí? Que la llanta está rota, que lo que sea. Queremos estas señales, pero es importante que empezamos a entender que esto es información que nuestra mente nos manda cuando necesitamos algo, ¿sí? Así aprendemos a tratar con obstáculos de una manera saludable, ¿sí? De una manera saludable. Para manejar los sentimientos difíciles y los pensamientos difíciles, sin que formen un obstáculo diario, sin que afecte nuestra relación con otras personas, para que podamos vivir y convivir de una manera saludable. Primero hay que entender que cada vez que tú recibes un pensamiento difícil, algo está pasando, está comunicándote tu mente algo, ¿sí? Y tú puedes empezar a cambiar la información que tu mente recibió para formar asociaciones relevantes. Pero tú tienes que participar. Tú tienes que participar, ¿sí? Y ahora lo tenemos que hacer de adultos, porque para muchos de nosotros no nos enseñaron, no nos dieron esa información. ¿Vale? Entonces es importante participar en cada paso. Hay un porqué para cada cosa. Hay un porqué para cada cosa que pasa, que nos saca nuestra mente. Hay un porqué. Cuando sientes algo difícil, hay un porqué. Cuando piensas algo difícil, hay un porqué. Tal vez no nos informaron de una manera relevante, pero ahora de adultos podemos empezar a cambiar. Y eso se empieza con participar. Todos los días tú tienes una salud mental que mantener. Empieza a informarla. Empieza a informarte, a comunicar contigo, a tener conversaciones contigo, a preguntarte por qué siento esto. Así se combate tantos problemas, ¿sí? Y es un proceso, esto aún es muy superficial, hay mucho más con todo esto, pero hay que empezar en algún lugar, ¿sí? Y no importa tu edad, no importa tu edad. De alguna manera se puede empezar. Cuando yo estoy aquí reiterando estas cosas todos los días, de alguna manera diferente, tocamos diferentes cosas, yo estoy hablando ahorita contigo conscientemente porque de alguna manera algo te está afectando o hay algo que quieras cambiar de cómo actúas o etcétera, etcétera. Yo estoy hablando contigo, pero también estoy hablando con tu subconsciente, porque tu subconsciente siempre está activo. Tu subconsciente siempre está registrando información y entre más tú escuches esta información, entre más tú la tomes, entre más, eso quiere decir, tu subconsciente se está volviendo más y más familiar, se está familiarizando más y más se está familiarizando tu mente. Entre más lo escuches, entre más te expongas a estas cosas, tu mente va a empezar a conectar, va a empezar a asociar, vas a poder empezar a responder de una manera diferente, vas a poder manejar de una manera diferente, pero toma el que tú te expongas a estas cosas, en que tú participes con estas cosas, ¿vale? La llanta rota es solo un obstáculo que nos hará pasar por varias emociones. ¿Pero qué? Sí, es un obstáculo que nos va a hacer pasar por varias emociones, sí. Y dependiendo del evento, ¿sí? Dependiendo de cómo nos informaron nuestros... Porque este patrón no es el primer patrón. Hay un patrón antes de esto, de nuestra niñez, porque no nacimos pensando, ¿sí? Este pensamiento fue informado, hay otro patrón. Y hoy no lo vamos a hablar, pero... ¿sí? Entonces es muy importante entender que cuando tú pasas por un evento emocional, donde estás aquí o tal vez están pasando muchas emociones, muchos sentimientos, tu mente te está sugiriendo hacer muchas cosas diferentes. Es posible que tú aprendas a manejar todo eso, ¿sí? Cada cosita es como empezar a leer tu mente, es un lenguaje mental que nunca nos enseñaron. Y es importante porque no tienes que vivir aquí, no tienes que vivir en ese hueco donde te sientes que no eres suficiente, donde algo te falta, donde siempre eres infeliz. Thank you, Chicano, por el corazón. Uy, no tienes que vivir aquí, ¿vale? Nadie tiene que vivir aquí. Nos hemos acostumbrado. Nos hemos acostumbrado y no podemos salir de ello. Entonces, pues aquí siempre estoy para hablar estas cosas, para que formemos comunidad. Hay muchas personas aquí en inglés y en español hablando estas cosas, aprendiendo, comunicándose para salir de ello. Yo aquí les comparto todo lo que yo aprendí. Yo no soy terapista, yo soy una persona normal que se decayó y cayó en depresión y que dejó de querer existir. Y yo tuve que salir de eso sola y yo soy neurodivergente, soy muy buena con patrones mentales. Así yo salí, así yo empecé a entender las matemáticas mentales detrás de por qué me sentía como me sentía y me salí de ello. Y ahora yo les comparto todo lo que yo pueda para que ustedes conecten estas cosas, para que aprendan que no tienen que estar aquí y para hacerles un poquito más fácil ese viaje, ¿sí? Porque este viaje solo ustedes lo pueden hacer. Solo ustedes, participando con su propia mente, lo pueden hacer. Y les digo que es muy, muy, muy posible. Es muy posible. Es muy posible. Hemos evolucionado para poder hacer esto, ¿sí? Somos extremadamente listos. Cada ser humano tiene esta capacidad de hacer y deshacer los obstáculos mentales. Aprendámoslo, ¿sí? Y no quiero que te sientas sola o solo. Esto se hace más fácil en comunidad. Entonces, no estén solitos. Sepan hablarlo, sepan practicarlo, sepan, ¿vale? Para facilitar y para no vivir aquí. Porque eso no es vida vivir aquí, ¿vale? Bueno, pues eso es todo lo que les tenía que decir hoy.